Welcome, team leaders, to our first meeting since our Thursday night shuffle. I'm Margaret Wolf. Some of you know me from the middle school that feeds into Sugar Creek High School. I want to thank you for joining me today, and we want to just get right down to business. You are part of the team that is going to be involved with the change here at Sugar Creek High, our school. Our community and our superintendent have heard you, and we are the agents to move Sugar Creek High School to become one of the premier learning establishments in our area. We're going to work together and we're going to make a positive change at our school. We're going to follow some of the work as outlined by Sheila Bethel. We're going to make sure that we are doing right is what works versus doing whatever works is right. We're going to get focused. We are going to develop and create a vision. We're going to be creative. We're going to use our imagination. We're going to work together. We're going to share our ideas and our actions. And we're going to get everybody on board. And this is going to be a very, very exciting time for all of us. As you look at this slide, you're seeing words such as collaboration, working interdependently. And you're seeing words such as defor, and eager. And you might be thinking, this sounds like professional learning communities. Well, you would be right. We are going to focus on it as teaming, collaborative teaming. And I need to let you know that we're not adopting a program. Fullen in his work talks about that sometimes people just think it's a program. We'll just adopt this professional learning communities program. Well, he reminds us we're not adopting a program. Rather, we're establishing a new culture. Fullen outlines 3 areas that people can experience difficulty when adopting a PLC. The first one is that, policymakers don't believe in it. There's no investment. Well, if you've seen that new master schedule, you will see our district is supporting us in this move. During the day, you will have time to collaborate with teachers. Teachers that share the same kids, or teachers that you share the same content subject with. That time is there. That's a big investment. The second obstacle that he outlines is that sometimes teachers revert back to just closing their doors and working in isolation. He calls this teachers playing the privatization card. Well, we need to make sure as leaders that those doors stay open. And the third barrier that Fullen outlines is that this is very, very hard work. Remember, we're not adopting a program. We're not going to open a book and do some things. We are changing the culture of our school. We will be working collaboratively. We're going to be working interdependently. We're going to make a difference. This is hard work, and it is rewarding work. So why is there a need for us to change our practice? You may be asking this. Well, Principal Scott has really shared this with us. Let's review. The brutal facts are 600 of our Hispanic students are not passing the exit exams. That means they're not walking the stage. They're not graduating from high school. That's 600 children. They are sons, daughters, grandsons, and granddaughters. We wouldn't accept that for our own children or our own grandchildren. The majority of our students are of a minority race. We're almost 80% minority students at our school. We have a 130-point gap in our SAT scores. What we do know is that each student matters every day. And we have to be committed to that purpose. To focus on every child, we're going to have to focus on learning. Not on teaching and did they get it, but a focus on learning. Our campus will have a focus of learning for our students, but also for the adults. We are going to learn as well. As we shift from a focus on teaching to a focus on learning and become a learning-focused school, we need to remember again that all students can learn at high levels. Mike Manos talks about this. He talks about how students, when they graduate from high school, they're not going to have modified rent or accommodated utility bills. They have to be prepared. And they can learn at higher levels. But we need to take responsibility for that to make sure that our students are getting a high quality curriculum and there's depth of knowledge that is mastered by our students. Let's go back and visit our definition of what a PLC is. Remember, we talked about a collaborative team whose members work interdependently. They need each other to achieve common goals. Linked to the purpose for learning for all. We just talked about believing in every kid and finding every student and not letting one slip through. So how did you get here? Well, when I was looking at the work of Sheila Bethel, one of the things she talked about is that as a leader, I had to find the best people. And sitting in front of me today are the best people. You've been selected. Some of you are department heads. Some of you are lead teachers. But you are all now team leaders because you will be leading a collaborative team. Bethel talks about the days of the one leader, that mythical hero riding off in the sunset. That's not realistic. What we need now is people that can work together to solve a problem. That's where you come in. You are the key people. These are the 4 questions that you will be tackling during your collaborative teaming time. What do we expect our students to learn? We're going to review our scope and sequence. We're going to review our units. What do we really want our students to master? Question 2, how will we know when they've learned it? These are our assessments. We're going to use frequent, common, formative assessments along the way to check how our students are doing, so that before they even get to a summative assessment, we will know exactly if that student is even ready for the summative assessment. Question 3, how will we respond when our students aren't getting it? So how are we going to know? Well, we're going to use our formative assessments to find out it. And when they don't seem to get it, what are we going to do to reteach it? We're going to look in the mirror. We're going to look to our neighbors. We're going to get help. We're going to find a way to help our students learn it a different way. And question 4, how will we respond if our students already know it? This is the fun part. This is our enrichment and extension. So back to question 1. What do we want our students to know? What do we want them to learn? We're going to take a real hard look at our curriculum. What are we teaching? When are we teaching? And how are our students learning it? We're going to identify the standards, those essential standards that have leverage and endurance. What do our students really have to know out of this content to be successful not only at the next level, but for the rest of their life? We're going to look at those readiness standards. What do they need to know to be able to apply those standards? And the supporting the content. So going back to question number 2, how are we going to know if they've got it? How are we going to assess our students' learning? We're going to use frequent common formative assessments. Now, a common formative assessment is something that our whole team, either by content, or you are going to develop these collectively together. The purpose of common formed assessments, outlined by DeFore and Eaker, are that 1, they're going to identify the students that need additional time and support. 2, they're going to give you feedback on the teaching strategies that worked, what really helped kids the most. 3, if there is a problem in our scope and sequence or in our curriculum, we're going to be able to identify that. And 4, most of all, it's going to help us look for those small wins, that improvement towards our goals. So question number 3 is, how do we respond if students didn't learn it? This is one of the best parts about being in a true collaborative team. You're not alone in this. If a student didn't get it and you've already taught your A game, it can be really confusing because you don't know what else you can do. But now you have a team that can help you. So maybe my students didn't understand this particular concept, but next door, her students knocked it out of the ballpark. That's who I go and see. Tell me what you did. Or maybe, hey, I have these 3 students that didn't get it. Could you take those 3 and teach them? Let me take your students for enrichment and extension. That's the power of collaborative teaming. Bethel talks about accountability and that we have to clearly communicate what we expect others to follow. As a team leader, you're going to help your team devise the SMART goal. And it's going to start with some of our brutal facts. For example, right now we know that only 41% of our Hispanic students pass our high school graduation exit exam. Only 41%. So we would need to set a goal because that's not acceptable. So we would have a SMART goal that would hold us more accountable so that we focus our work on increasing the passing standard for our Hispanic students. We might have a stretch goal, but we're going to start with a goal that is attainable. The A in SMART is for attainable. The S, strategic, specific. M, measurable. How are we going to measure it? Well, we're going to measure it by how many students actually pass the exit exam. So what is our attainable goal? Well, right now it's 41%. Maybe we start with 50 or 55. What would our stretch goal be? Well, if we really truly care about every student, it would be 100. But we're looking for those small wins. So we're going to start with perhaps a 50% mark. Is it results oriented? Not activity based, but results. Are we getting the results we want? The result is more students passing that exit exam. And is it time bound? Well, we're going to say that in June of this school year, we're going to reach that 50%. Again, our stretch goal may be, and I think it should be, 100, but we're going to start with that small win first. As we wrap up, I want you to see yourself as a member of this guiding coalition. So what's the difference between a team leader team and a guiding coalition? There is a subtle difference. A guiding coalition is different. Fullen describes a guiding coalition as a group that shares a common message. So when we go out and we're sharing information, we're all saying the same thing. We're consistent with the message that we send out and with what we're saying with all of our stakeholders, with our teachers, on our team, and even with our students, with our parents. We're going to communicate the same thing. We're always going to have that same message. And we're also going to keep our focus on results. That's part of our capacity building, staying focused on our results. And that's really critical to the success of our growth as a school and to get the achievement that we want out of our students.